Hello and welcome. I'm going to be taking a little project today. For anyone that has one of these Savic XL Royal Suite cages, you'll know that they are not the best quality for the price. They're a bit flimsy. There's certain bits that don't quite work as well as you would hope. So I'm going to be doing a few modifications today to hopefully make this into what I would consider a slightly better cage. I'm going to try and take on maybe 3 key issues, and maybe there'll be some more I can do. The big one for us is this middle panel that separates the 2 cages. It's really flimsy, the design is not great. You can see that it sort of slides in on these lips here in the corners and then has some holes in the metal there that hold them in, but they've only got 2 here, 1 there, 1 down there, and then 1 there and 1 up there, and the rest of them just lay in the lips there. And it's not the strongest, and there has been cases of this falling through, which is not ideal. So we have all these branches holding them up, but it's always been like a temporary solution just in case. So we have some pieces of aluminium that I'm going to try and use to create something that bolts to the cage body itself as well as this, meaning that there's no way it can move. The second one is these doors. You'll see that with these doors, they are an absolute nightmare for not closing entirely properly. They get caught. This doesn't come down past the lip, which means you have to sort of push it in, and it's not as smooth as the other Savics that just seem to go in nicely. So what we might try and do is take these apart and see if we can reduce down this here a bit. The other bits, these are relatively simple to do, is these just don't sit in properly, they never have. When you pull them out, you see that the holes don't quite go down far enough, so we'll just cut a bit of plastic out of them and hopefully get these to sit right the way down past the bolt rather than sticking out like that. Right, hopefully this bit should be quite simple. These are the poles that sit and basically go up and down on the doors. We need to try to, we can't really do a lot with this bottom end to make them come down more. But what we can do is take a few mils off the end here. So in trying to cut these down, I've tried a few different methods. I've tried using various tools, I've tried using an angle grinder, all of which make the metal too hot. Now this outside, although it looks like it's some sort of like anodization or something in the metal, it's not, it's just a plastic coating and it melts as the metal gets hot. So in order to make sure it doesn't happen, I found that actually it's quite a quick method just to get one of these files and put it in a vise about as much as you want and just keep filing it down. And it takes maybe about 2 minutes of filing to get it down as far as you need to go, and then you just file it smooth around the edges so it's kind of like a rounded edge like this is already. Well, we have these on, if I can get them to focus. They're both sticking out there. The big difference now is you see when these go down, they go below the plastic. If I now do this with the door I haven't altered, you can see it bonk, bonk, bonk. It's sort of getting caught. What I've got to do, another 2 for this side and then another 4 for this side, so that's a fair amount to do. But let's get these top ones done first so they're easy to get out. So now we've done the doors, we've done all of them, so you can see that they all do the same thing now. It all goes down below the little plastic bit and they all fit in nicely. I can just pull that down and pull. Some of them are still a little bit, this hole down here doesn't quite line up with the bottom pole, so I think that's more a door alignment issue. But these all fine. Open, pull. Now onto the plastic bits. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to use a tiny little hacksaw and I'm just going to go down to the very top without cutting too far. It's relatively soft plastic, so there you go. And that's it. So that's now sitting right at the bottom, which should hopefully mean there's enough. Right, I'm going to do this till the rest and we'll see how they sit. So there we go, that's them all, they're all cut out, and I've just given them a quick file inside just to make sure they're smooth. So we're just going to go and try them on the cage and see if they now fit a bit more flush than they did before. So here's the caps now in, they're not, you can see they're now sitting flush to the cage. They need a bit of a whack with a hammer to get them in, but now they're in, that's no problem. And that's all corners nice and flat. So now it's as the other cages would be and not with this big bit sticking out because they couldn't be bothered to properly measure and cut the materials. So we've now got the doors done. The last thing that I want to do is secure this a bit more securely, and actually that in turn will hold the cage together a lot better than it already is. It will be a lot less flimsy. So my idea for doing that is using these pieces of aluminium to go underneath here and to bend round and hold that together. That will then be underneath there, and then to drill a hole and get a nice sort of rectangle washer to hold that bar, that grill, to the body of the cage, with it bent round onto there. Right, the plan's going to be use that to bend this in the vise to make sure that it's square and it's the right dimensions, and then what we'll do is we'll cut off any excess, measure up, drill some holes, and hopefully be done. Right, let's see how we get on. Right, so we've now got that bent into a nice shape to go around the bars. We've got that measured so that's the depth of the lip we've got. So we're going to trim off that little bit of excess. So we've now got the end bent. That's bent round enough to grab on. I made a mark where I want my hole for the drills, and this is also a mark where I need to cut it so that it doesn't stick out the back of the cage, which should just be there. So we're going to cut that and drill that hole and then find a suitable washer and bolt, and hopefully we can put our first one on and then make our last one. Time to drill a hole through there. There we go. Right, just trying to find some bolts. Right, so we're ready to screw it on. I had to amend my design a little bit because I couldn't find a bolt and nut. I had lots and lots of screws, I had lots and lots of bolts, but no nuts to go with the bolts, which is typical. So what I've done is I've cut a small piece of the aluminium that's going to sit over the top there, and that will clamp it on, and underneath I'm just going to temporarily, until I can find a bolt, just put a bit of wood and a screw in, just so that holds it in place. But ideally we'll have a little screw, a little nut and bolt going through there, holding them and clamping them together. And once we've done that, we've got to do one more on the other side, and then we're done. So here's our first one. I've just screwed it in. It doesn't look as nice as it could do because I've just temporarily screwed it into a piece of wood because I didn't have the required nut and bolt. Once I get one, I can, line this all up and make it look a bit more. But you're not going to see it. The tray sits on top of this, but you'll obviously see it from the bottom. I've made sure to choose a screw that doesn't poke out the bottom of that. I've got that clamping them two together. What I might do is get a pair of mole grips and just try and clamp that together a bit more, possibly. Bar that, we need one on the other side. But it's a lot more stable now. There's no way that can fall through. So there we go, we're all finished with our last two. They're not looking as nice as I intend them to look because I had to use wood instead of a bolt and a nut. So what I will do is I'll get a nut and I'll make these so that they're sort of all flat and nice in the side there, and bolt them in. But for now that'll do, just before I've got the supplies. I probably could have maybe got these a bit better. They're not quite, that one's in nice and tight, that one's a little bit wobbly. I could just try and grab that down with a vise possibly, just to squeeze that corner down. But bar that, the doors are all done. The doors open now really nicely. Yep, doors open nicely. These things all go down as they should do. We'll put the tray back in and we'll put the pouches back in, and there we go. Hope you enjoyed. Any questions I'll be happy to answer, but I'm not exactly a DIY king, so this is just my little Sunday project and trying to make this cage slightly better than it was. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.